Good morning, everybody. How's it going today? I can't hear you, but maybe you can put that in the chat. Um, just wanted you to know that we have Susan Kelleher moderating the chat today, so she'll be gathering your questions as we go. This is going to be a great panel with two of our Hall of Famers. Susan Rose, I think she came in first, and then Brian Carico, who has just made a Hall of Famer. Was it the last Hall of Fame we did? Hall of Fame 10 or 11?
Hall of Fame 10.
Yes. Okay. So the name of this gig is gigs after COVID. We're actually going to cover a little bit before, during, and after COVID. I'd like to introduce to you Susan Rose, who is a Hall of Fame inductee. She's lighting designer, programmer, lighting director, and she's toured with Ringo Starr, Hank Williams, John Barry. And is it okay, Susan, to say who you're about to go out with?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so Susan's about to go out with Melissa Etheridge. Actually, like in a couple of weeks here. So
yeah, next Friday, August 6th, I'm out. So I'm counting down the days. It's been a year and a half, so almost 2 years.
So thank you for your time. And Brian, you're about ready to go back out again as well, correct?
Yeah, I leave from here and we go straight to the shop to start prepping our show with Blake Shelton. Yeah, and we'll be in rehearsals starting Monday.
Cool. So the format for this, we'll just kind of address the questions as we go along. So if you have a question, feel free to put it in, and Susan will acknowledge and post the questions for us. Oh, by the way, I'm Mark Johnson. I'm the program director for the show production program. So anyway, shall we get started? So I wanted to kind of start and set the scene. What was life? What were things in the industry, the state of the industry, kind of before COVID? What happened before COVID? Brian, do you want to kick off with that one?
Yeah, I think with the state of the industry, I think was thriving the most it ever has. I know for me, I was the busiest I'd ever been. I was getting booked out almost a year in advance. Just from looking at vendors as well, equipment, had to be placed reservations on pretty early. So it was a great spot. We were definitely on fire for sure.
Mm-hmm. And Susan, how about you? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I was super busy before COVID, right up until actually, I had just done some TV shows and a cruise ship and came to Hall of Fame, and the day I got back, the world shut down. So yeah, I was like Brian, I was just going nonstop.
Okay, so and then during COVID, I know a lot was going on in the industry. A lot of the various manufacturers had tons of educational things going on and offering a lot of seminars and a lot of their even some of their software up for free for people to use. I saw a lot of kind of continuing education in the world. So Susan, we'll kick off with you. What kinds of things did you do during COVID? I know people also kind of took some time off, well-needed time off.
I kind of did that route. I took some time off that was well needed because I just spent most of my life on the road, and I stopped and smelled the roses, so to speak, and enjoyed some home life, and hiking and kayaking and kind of enjoying having a life outside of work for once. And it was a little bit of a culture shock at first, but then I'll admit I've grown to enjoy being home right now. I'm looking forward to get back on the road, but I enjoyed being home a lot. I did utilize some of the time to, I went over to Avo because Avo Lights is here in Knoxville, and worked with, Brad and Andre, just trying to learn, just kind of get my head around the Avo consoles, which I've now fast forward purchased one. And I'm still learning it. But I took some time to learn some things because there was plenty of opportunities to learn. But I'm going to be very honest. My brain was a little burnt out, and I was ready for a break. So I actually took it to take some time for me to take care of me too, because you have to do that in this industry. If you don't, all of a sudden 20 years go by and you blink and go, what just happened? And who am I? And your health and everything, you know, in your mental health, your physical health, you don't realize how much it affects you until you just finally stop and breathe a little bit. And that's what I did. You know, the first few months were tough on all of us because it was a shock. But once I adapted to the new life and found other options of things to do and places to work that I enjoyed, it really wasn't so bad. So I kind of embraced a little bit of taking care of myself as well.
Great. Brian, how about you? What kind of things were you up to? I know some of them.
Well, I definitely felt all of the emotions. You know, what are we doing? And are we ever going to go back again? I can't wait to go back again to these people, my wife and children. They're actually not too bad to live with. So I kind of enjoy that part now. And I think almost they mutually think the same of me. And as far as the education side, you know, I definitely took advantage of some of those. You know, me, it kind of went in stages because I was always, well, when we're going to go back. It just felt like, you know, maybe we'll have a month off and we're back on tour. We're all trying to figure out what the expiration date was on going back to work. But, you know, at some point, you know, the bills kept coming in, so I had to go find work, and I was getting real itchy and from being at home, being idle for a bit. I'd finished all the projects at the house I wanted to get done. So yeah, I moved. I mean, I went to work for Amazon for a bit just to stay moving. I also took another interesting job of doing COVID testing for students at Vanderbilt. I also went back to Full Sail and got my bachelor's degree in show production. I took just about every online class I could find. So I try to stay busy, you know, for my own mental health. And then like Susan, you know, I found a sleep schedule, so that's kind of fun. I haven't had one of those in probably since I was in high school. So yeah, I actually went out last week and we did a show, and I actually had to climb up into a bunk and sleep on the bus. And it was, I mean, I was tired because it was past 10 o'clock, which I'm usually in bed here at the house. So we were just in the middle of the show. So, you know, that part's been fun. The pandemic has left a lot of great positive things for me. I don't want another one to happen, so that positive things can happen. But, you know, I just made the best out of what I could.
Okay. So did either of you do any events during the pandemic? Susan, if you could kind of describe what events you did and kind of the processes surrounding them.
Well, quite frankly, I'm in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, which is outside of Knoxville, near Gatlinburg, if you've heard of that. And quite frankly, we've been open for the last year. I was very fortunate because one of the theaters that I'm the designer for, when we reopened a year ago in June to have capacity, I still designed and programmed the show, but then I also went to work for the theater. Some nights I was running Spotlight, which was fun because I was going back to my roots. To this day, I still fill in for my LD there so he can have a day off because it's a 7-day-a-week show. We've been 7 days a week since June a year ago. So I work 1 to 2 days a week there, actually pushing go and running the show that I designed. And it's been fun. I'm not, you know, making near the money I make on the road, and I don't care. I'd rather make less money and be happy. And like Brian, we found other jobs. You know, I've been, you know, working at Country Night Theater. Like I said, running Spot, running lights. I've also become a trivia host. So I host trivia now. And I found other jobs as well. And I've actually stayed pretty dang busy here. I actually did my first corporate gig back in March for another company. Went to Florida and did a corporate, like a dance kind of thing, which was fun because that was one of the first corporate gigs that was coming back online again. But the majority of my work and shows have been here locally in Pigeon Forge because all of our theaters and Dollywood, which is our theme park here, everything is open now. So I've actually been very blessed and very fortunate to still be able to work in an industry that I love this last year that's been shut down pretty much globally. And I felt fortunate to be able to do lights some during this pandemic. And like Brian, I became an LD landscape designer and worked on my house and my landscaping and all kinds of projects at my house. So, I mean, I kept really busy last year, but I was able to do shows locally here in my theaters, which has been a lot of fun. So at least I was still able to keep the creative juices going and do work in an industry that, you know, was essentially closed everywhere else. So
Right.
I think I had a gift of being given that, of living here.
Cool. Brian, how about you?
Yeah, I am, you know, in the middle of working at the COVID center, and then in the middle of being a student and also still doing gigs. I'm Tennessee as well, so you know, we've been open for business. I actually have not done during the COVID. I never did one video gig at all. I did all lighting gigs. So I was a lighting gaffer for a lot of television shows, which was fine. It was great. I hadn't done lighting in a while. I was really shocked that I was getting the phone call, but I wasn't going to say no either. So it was nice. CMT Music Awards. It was the first music awards show that we brought indoors. So that was challenging and different. We did the first one outdoors, another whole different group of challenges and being different. Coincidentally, like Susan, I'm not a trivia host, but I'm a trivia attendee. So some of the networking I've done is actually networked with my neighbors and actually met them. So so we go every week with our neighbors and we play trivia. So I think in all of this, the theme is to keep moving. And it may not be what you want to do currently, but just keep moving. Where I was working on the COVID center was probably 5 or 6 road guys and gals who were working there. Back to networking. One of them who I never toured with, I'm now touring with now, Blake Sheldon. So networking never stops, for sure. And always staying busy. I always the worst place to find a gig is on your couch.
True that. So on the gigs that you did do, we're teaching slightly different aspects of production here at Full Sail, just as a result of COVID, precautions, safety precautions, and health precautions. What kind of things did you come across that you had to do differently in order to work the event? Brian, we'll start with you.
Well, I got to wear a damn mask, so that's the biggest one. I tried to sweeten it up a bit, but I couldn't. It's that's the biggest thing. COVID has evolved, and the regulations have evolved. So, just for example, the first award show we did, we were limited to how many people we could have on set, and also our set was always outdoors because we could have more people. And we didn't do an award show where it was 10 days of a show. It turned into a month long of pre-records. And then when we were on set, we may only have 10 stagehands. So that was different. We had to think differently how we worked. We would have usually an entire setup day because we didn't have enough personnel to set up and shoot all at the same day. And then when we learned how to manage the obstacle that was placed in front of us, which was being limited to amount of persons on set. So we would have a show day, and then the next day would be a setup day. And the reason why was because, well, we got rid of artists and we got rid of artist entourage, and we reduce certain amount of camera guys. So then that would allow us to bring more stagehands in to make a move. So that was a little bit different. Even this last award show, when we were shooting, regulations were changing weekly and also county by county. So it may be different in the county we were shooting in as opposed to where we were the week before. So a lot of that was different. How do we work? How do we plan what we're shooting? We repurposed a lot of things to try to save time on the design side. So we just kind of had to think differently how we do it. Now, a couple of plus sides is, man, when's the last time you got to do a retake on an award show? I mean, we do 6 passes, and the end product looked fabulous. But the part was always missing was the audience. So I mean, yeah, we gained some nice things on the production side. The audience wasn't there. When we did the audience for this last award show, we were 500 people as an audience. So it was nice to hear someone besides reacting. So we started on our end CMT. We just made it customary that we'd be in a production tent hidden back somewhere else, but we all still applauded. So I mean, the artists, when they were done with a performance, they heard someone. I mean, it wasn't much, but we did what we could. So it kind of just helped bring that in and just keep the momentum alive. So yeah, it was definitely different. It's still different. Even prepping what we do right now, the engineer is going to no longer just be, he's the only one that knows how that system sets up. We're going to have to explain to a few people, because if one of us gets knocked out, we still got to keep going. So we think differently too, how we do that.
Okay. What about, and Susan, you can kick off with this, and Brian, you can jump in if you want. What about, you mentioned mask. What about COVID testing, or just kind of making sure that you had tests, or did they provide tests before the gig or during an extended gig? Did you have to do any of that? Susan, you can start, and then Brian, you can jump back in if you want.
Well, last year when we first opened, I mean, I'd gotten 4 COVID tests throughout the year because I was so actively out in the theater and hosting trivia and playing trivia. But it wasn't required. We were required for a while to wear masks. So when I was hosting trivia, or even when I was working in the theater, I rarely interacted with the audience. I'd wear my mask to the booth and I do the show, and I'd take it off when I got to the booth, but then when I would exit through the audience and intermission at the end of the show, I would just kind of bolt out of there and not really interact with people at all. And that was a little different for me because I'm so used to talking to people. But we did wear masks for a long time around here, and then they lifted the mask mandate, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and now we're at full capacity. And people, if they choose to, they will wear them. But for the most part, that's been long gone. The corporate gig I did though back in March, that was a little different. It was kind of what Brian was saying. We got there and it was a limited audience. Literally each dance group were only allowed like their parents in there, and it was a very tiny audience, and they do their little recital, what they were doing. Then they'd get everybody out of there and they'd clean the stage and spray everything down and let the next group of dancers in, the next group of parents in, and it was a very tiny audience. So that was kind of weird. Because I know as a performer myself, having that reaction from the audience feeds you, and it's got to be difficult for entertainers and sports people and whoever that are used to having that interaction of the audience applauding and screaming to going to silence. It does. I think it does affect the performers in a way, and the sports people as well. The show must go on, but it's definitely a different world because they're not getting that feedback from the audience. That's good that you guys, Brian, were at least clapping for them. They were hearing somebody acknowledge their performance, But the corporate gig I did was very structured like that, where it's very limited seating and limited audiences. And but things around here have gone, I don't know what it's going to be like touring next week when I go out. I'm getting prepared mentally to, I'm not sure what it's going to be like. The protocol is going to be like from city to city and venue to venue. I'll have my mask. I have my COVID card if they need it, if they're required to see it, or I have my little mask. If they ask to wear it, I'll be respectful for it. So, whatever the venue wants us to do, but it's going to be interesting. I don't know yet what it's going to be like to be able to answer any of that question, but I'm prepared for either way, whatever is going to happen.
Brian, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, Viacom is the parent company of CBS, CMT, MTV, all those, and they have their own COVID protocol. On that one, we had zones. You had Zone A, and that allowed you to be close to talent, and Zone B, you had to be, further away. So, I mean, in order to be Zone A, you had to be tested every 48 hours. So I'm at 56 COVID tests and 56 negatives, and my nose has never felt more clear in all my life.
So when we were originally preparing the questions, we had and the name of this is Gigs After COVID. Obviously, we're not quite done at after, certainly, and hopefully we're kind of on the downhill slope of it. So, and things are kind of opening back up. So what's the hardest part of kind of picking back up where you were, or maybe it's not the case of picking back up where you were, but kind of starting anew, or just kind of looking and getting back into some kind of a groove, or back into the industry? Brian, why don't we go with you?
Well, there's a lot of challenges right now. Currently, we're all excited to get back. From the vendors standpoint, the vendors, where the places where you're to be renting your equipment from, they probably had to furlough quite a large amount of people, and they're not always the same people that are coming back. Some people have chosen, to go do something else. Some people retire early. So, we're working with our vendors, trying to get gear in a timely manner. I mean, like I'm still waiting on equipment to show up, because there's literally backlogs of cases that haven't even been opened up for almost a year. And they don't have the personnel sometimes always test it. So, that's requiring a lot of patience and kind of to go through it. Sometimes we're just going to their shop to help out, just to get it done. So that's one aspect that's different. And also you would think that, on Blake Sheldon, it's a crew of 8 video guys. So you would think I'd be returning with the same crew. And in reality, I only have 3 that's returning, that's been there before. And part of that is because, for example, in my normal world, I would have 3 artists I would tour with to fill out my entire year. Well, those 3 artists are all now touring in the same month, because everyone's going back right now. So finding crew, finding qualified, knowledgeable people is difficult. Finding people who can over/under a cable is a plus right now. Finding people who can just show up is a plus right now. So I think the market is very fruitful for people coming into the market here soon. And a lot of it, sometimes it's fast and furious. I can't count how many posts I've seen on social media, just, hey, looking for a lighting guy who's available, looking for this, who's available. The work is definitely plentiful. So, dealing with that is a challenge. It's not a bed of roses right now coming back in. It's a bit of a rocky start, but we're going to get through it for sure. But it's definitely not like we turned the water off and it's just flowing again like it was before. There's a few rapids to get through.
Right. Susan, how about you?
I agree with Brian. I feel like all the tours are going out at the same time right now. And a lot of people have found other avenues of work that they're enjoying. A lot of people have decided to retire. The gentleman, the LD that I'm replacing on Melissa, has actually been with her 18 years, and he's not leaving because he's unhappy. He's leaving because he's ready to retire. And a lot of my colleagues have either retired or found other work that they're enjoying, and enjoying being home, because they've missed out on the last 20 or 30 years of their lives because they've been gone. And like Brian said, actually learning, oh, wow, I have a spouse and kids, and wow, they've grown up, and I missed birthday parties and softball events and graduations, and this is what it's like. And I think a lot of people have adapted to that. So right now everyone's touring at the same time. So there is a need for, everything from LDs or front of house to stagehands to repair techs to everything, because all the tours are happening at the same time. And with that being said, I have not left Ringo. Ringo did not tour last year or this year. He's slated to tour next summer, but that a lot can happen in a year, as we all know. So I'm not going to worry about that till next summer comes. But we've all found other options. And when I got this opportunity to go on this tour with Melissa Etheridge, I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this a try myself and see if it's what I still want to do. I'm excited to get out there, but I may get out there and go, yay, this is awesome, I missed this. Or I may get out there and go, I want to go back home, And I think one of the big challenges for me is, like Brian said, I have a sleep schedule for the first time ever in my adult life. I'm having to retrain my brain to think. That's one reason I've been so busy the last couple of weeks, because I've been advancing shows. They've been sending me all the tech packs for every single venue we're playing, and because we're not carrying production with us. So I've been advancing all these shows and going through all these tech packs and making lighting plots. And I purchased an ABO console that I'm doing the crash course, trying to relearn it again. And I've been programming and actually, patching all my shows. I want to carry my own console just in case I get into a venue that doesn't have a console that I like. So I'm using the time that I have now, the free time that I have now to teach myself this console. And of course the ABO guys are helping me again, but I own it now and I have something to actually apply it to. So I'm teaching myself this console and I'm going to take it with me on the road. But the thing is disciplining myself, because I've been on this life of leisure for the last year and a half where I can go hiking and kayaking wherever I want. Now I'm having to say, no, I have to work today. I have to work on this console today. I have to advance these shows today. And I have to really dedicate my time to start advancing and working again and just retraining my brain to think again. And, I'm gonna have to stay up past my bedtime here pretty soon and do a long day. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't go to bed early anymore. I've gotten used to going to bed early. Now I got to stay up late and get up early. So I don't know. My life of leisure is getting ready to become life of work again.
Yeah.
But I'm excited though.
So one of the things that you both kind of mentioned is that there's a shortage of people to actually work these gigs. How can current students or recent grads or even people who are just kind of interested in the live production industry, what are things that they can do to kind of best prepare to enter into this field? So Susan, we'll continue on with you, and then we'll go over to Brian.
Well, I mean, right now I'd say be open to whatever opportunities exist. Sorry, I'm going to get inside where the sunlight's not as bad. Be open to opportunities, be open to learning, be open to doing things you don't necessarily think you want to do, because like you've seen with Brian and I, we found other things to do this past year that we didn't think we'd ever want to do, but we had to, or not we had to, but it was a choice to make money. But I would say keep your options open. You may think you want to do this, but if you have an opportunity to do this, try it out. You may end up liking it. You may end up finding something you enjoy doing even better. So you might want to do sound, but you like doing lighting, you like doing video, you like doing gaming better, or, art better, or, set design. So, I mean, I would just say keep your options open, and keep an eye out for the gigs that are being posted. Even if it's a gig that, isn't what you're looking to do, but it's a great way to get your foot in the door and get the opportunity to, if you want to tour or you want to work live events and you have an option to be a stagehand that day, go do it, because you learn so much just being a stagehand and working with people like Brian and myself, and actually learning how shows go together and how things happen, and getting around it and networking, because networking in this business is so important. Knowing people and getting to know people and knowing the right people and being in the right place at the right time. So there's, you can't just sit on the couch and wait for a job to come to you. You have to keep your eyes and ears open and be willing to try different things. So that's probably my best advice. Be willing to try different things.
Okay. Brian, how about you?
Yeah, networking for sure is huge. If you're currently in at Full Sail or just recently graduated. You know, Florida's another state that's been open for a while. There's plenty of opportunity. You know, and I mean, a couple strategies. I'm not saying this is the golden ticket, but you know, I see some students posting what they're doing, the gigs they're doing on the side. I mean that, and if I'm an alumni, you know, I want to know if you're going to be there on a crew call, or you know, just come say hello if you see me, or you know, I mean, I watch my Instagram and I follow a lot of graduates and students and see people on Facebook and other social media. You know, it's great to see what you guys are doing, you know, and it's also great to see what you're doing maybe outside the classroom as well, outside the lab, because that shows that you're going the extra mile. You know, you're putting forth the effort to do more than just what's required with you out of school. You know, fill up that resume with as much as you can of jobs and shows that you've done and you've been on. That's another really big way to do it. You know, and during the pandemic, there was a ton of information and YouTube classes on gear and equipment, and all that is great and awesome, but keep doing that. But you know, you got to build the foundation first. Like Susan, you got to run the spotlight. You got to be the patch guy. You know, you got to be the one who can manage a bunch of cables and not have it look like a rat's nest. You got to be the one who can be neat in labeling. You one who can be organized. You know, I had an issue one time that someone wrote an H sideways. I was forever chasing Sacco number I. In reality, it was H, because they wrote that one sideways. You know, just being detailed. You know, you can do a lot of that stuff as you're doing these smaller shows, and that really helps you in the long run tremendously.
Okay. Is there anything that current students or recent grads need to know about what's different in the industry? What should they be considering now that they may not have considered in the past? Susan?
Well, what's different? I mean, obviously video streaming and live streaming has become big. Zoom chats and things like we're doing right now have become very, very mandatory. I see a lot of people moving in that direction because media streaming has become so prevalent now.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're good with networking and computer stuff, and that might be an avenue to look into. Live events are coming back, but you know, none of us know day to day right now how long that's going to last. Hopefully we're going to be off and rolling, but then again, reality of it is, who knows? You know, so having a backup plan of something else that you can do, I think is always good to keep in your hip pocket. Don't focus on, I'm just going to do this the rest of my life, because as we saw last year, things change. And I've been in entertainment my entire life, so it was definitely a eye-opening experience to go, what am I going to do now? And I think having other options open is very important. So like I said, it's great that you have a focus of what you want to do and what you want to be, but learn other things as well, you know, because like I said earlier, you might find something you enjoy even more, and or at least you enjoy doing, in case your current job comes to an abrupt ending like happened to us last year. Right. So I would just say keep your back pocket open. But the thing is, I've seen that with, you know, networking and a lot of these people that are really, really good with computer stuff kept working because everything moved to like all the churches, and like a lot of the events moved to live streaming, and, you know, Zoom calls. And so, I mean, I think that's a great avenue for those of you out there that have a knack for that, to have that in your back pocket, and it could become your career.
Can I jump in quickly with a question from a student? Because Susan, you just brought this up. With COVID numbers going up again, do you think we might see another delay in live production? We all hope
I'm wondering
not,
that myself. I'm wondering that myself. I'm trying to think positive, because you know me, I'm the sunshine behind the clouds, but I'm also realistic. And I'm just taking it day by day right now because with the numbers going up, you know, the minute somebody, because right now, face it, we're going to be on tour buses, like Brian's been talking, we're going to be on tour buses crammed in there with other people. One person gets sick. Is that going to shut us down? Is that going to send everybody home? You know, I've already had to sign waivers, you know, and it's just, it's interesting. I don't know what's going to happen. You know, I'm going out there with that, you know, a strong positive attitude that we're going to do a show or touring. Tomorrow may come and they may say, go home. I don't know. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But it seems like the entertainment industry is hit the hardest, one of the hardest hit when this does happen, because if the outbreaks start to happen within our crews and the venues and, you know, the artists, that is definitely going to raise a lot of eyebrows and some red flags, but let's hope not. Let's hope that we are moving forward and everybody will, you know, it's going to be a different world now. I think it's going to be people's responsibility to make the decision whether they want to attend a show or not, and put themselves at their own risk, you know, and that's their choice. If you want to come to a show, come to a show. If you don't feel comfortable coming to a show, don't come to a show. And the same with us touring. If any of us are not comfortable being around people, this isn't the time to go on tour then. And it's okay to stay home. You're not going to get fired because of it. People are not going to think any less of you because of it. It's your choice. If you don't feel comfortable, don't do anything you're not comfortable doing. But I'm willing to take that chance. I want to get back out, but I'm also prepared for if they say, well, we got to go back home. Let's hope that doesn't happen, but I don't know. I don't know.
Brian, do you have anything to add?
Well, COVID has definitely taught me that I suck at predicting the future. And same thing as Susan said, you know, we don't know, but I will say this about preparing for that. If it's COVID can send you home, an injury, you injure yourself on the road can send you home. An artist injures themselves can send you home. There's a lot of things that send you home, and I know from talking with Susan, and she's a veteran like me, you kind of learn to prepare for that. When you're on tour, the money is great. You're making really good money. You don't make that every day. When you go home, usually you're not being paid when you go home. So, you know, prepare for the downtime, and no matter what situation, whether it's COVID, whatever. I've been on a tour where the artist blew out their knee spinning around with a microphone. I've been where shows were just canceled because of something that was going on in that city, whether it had been weather, whether it been a riot. You know, you just never know, but prepare for it, not just because of COVID, but definitely leaving full self, get your finances in order, live below your means, try to eliminate your debts as fast as you can. I will tell you this, one thing that helped out with COVID was I have a house payment and one car payment, and that's all. And I have a lot of freedom when that happens and you lose your main stream of income. I was willing to go to work and do other things. I'm not bragging. Some people had it worse than we did. You know, I never had to touch my savings, but a lot of that was because my finances were in order. So that's my message to anyone coming up. Try to get your finances in order, pay off your debts, because it gives you a lot of padding to brunt the hit when that happens.
Okay. Susan kind of referred to it earlier in terms of a lot of the events and church services and things like that went virtual during the COVID. It certainly during the height of the COVID. What are some of the other things to consider when doing an event that may be virtual, or it may even be hybrid? Just in terms of production, do you look at the event differently? Like if it's going to be a virtual event, do you consider the lighting or the video differently than you would if it were in front of a completely live audience? Brian, we'll continue with you, and then we'll we'll get some comments from Susan.
Yeah, before COVID, especially in the corporate world, I was definitely doing that before, because you'd always had usually some kind of a online element, dealing with large corporations. It could have been people halfway around the world. It's hard for a corporation to pull all of their people from their home offices at one time. So I would be doing a mix, iMag in the room, and then also switching for a live broadcast as well. So, iMag is, I'm usually always tight, pretty close. I'm shooting for an online audience or a live audience, broadcast audience. I'm going to take wider shots because I want to have development shots, establishing shots there. So you kind of do things differently. Yes, that's just from what you're on site, but the technical side as well. It's a whole nother feed. If it's your audio, you may be mixing it completely different. So yeah, it's definitely, they're two different beasts. Sometimes you're required to do both at once, and it's good to understand both sides of that and the difference of.
Okay, Susan, how about you?
Well, I haven't actually dealt with any live streaming other than Zoom stuff.
Okay.
But I'm used to kind of lighting for iMag. And ironically enough, this is one of the things I always talk about in a lot of my classes that I talk to is these days we're lighting for video cell phones, because everyone's during the show doing this and posting it on social media. And right now, even with Melissa's show, I'm thinking ahead of, asking the venues, what venues have video, who's using iMag, and I'm always ready for cell phones. I mean, I light everything for the audience, but I also light it for cell phones because everything's streaming. So I guess in a way I do streaming. It's just not the professional streaming. It's just people's phones and they post it on YouTube. And guess what? The artists go watch that. And they don't see the show from out front. So they see what they see on YouTube. So if it looks like crap, no matter if it's somebody's crappy 20-year-old cell phone that they had putting a video up, they're going to think that it looks like crap. So I try to light it the best I can to kind of balance it out. So I think it's just from years of doing television, of just trying to have that eye to balance it out a little bit. But as far as live streaming events, I haven't been involved in any of those.
Okay.
We actually have another question coming in from the audience, and two people actually asked this. Are there any aspects of the upcoming tours that used to be done, have been done in person, that are now going to be done remotely, or is a hybrid tour? Any aspects of what we have done as video streaming during this period coming into live production? Brian, I know you're laughing because I know you've just done something that was kind of hybrided, wasn't it?
It was, but here's my take on it. Everybody wants live entertainment. Here's my take on streaming a concert. It's like going to Disney and realizing Chuck E. Cheese is there filling in for the week. It's an amusement park and it's a mouse, but it's just not the one you really wanted. So I think people really want live entertainment, and they're going to grab it, and the artists realize that as well. I think that's why we see so many artists going out right now. They're taking advantage of. They know their fans want it. They're taking advantage of it while they can. And if it gets shut down again, we don't know that. We just have to keep moving forward. But yeah, I think there's always going to be in concerts. I don't think we'll ever see a simultaneous live event and a broadcast every single night. I think we'll go back to what we've seen before, where we may do a DVD or a broadcast shoot of one show, and we'll treat that as it needs to be, as a different show. But people want to come, and people want to be entertained. People want the interaction.
I have to agree. That's the one thing I've always said. People want to be entertained. I don't think live streaming is going to replace live entertainment, because there's a difference. And even back in the olden days, even back in the early 1900s, during the wars and during the depressions, people want to be entertained because it's your escape, even if it's for 2 hours, escape from reality to get your mind off it. And let me tell you something, I saw that last year here when the whole world was shut down and we had our theaters open. Even though we were half capacity, we were selling out. We had better crowds last year than we ever had, ever. And selling out at full half capacity rather, but still we were full because so many people were so starved for live entertainment, just seeing the person right there on stage, not on a screen. There's a difference between, you know, some of the acts are trying the drive-in movie theaters where they had filmed an event somewhere like in Nashville, you know what I'm talking about, Brian. They filmed an event, that was awesome. And they showed it on video screen, on movie screens at drive-in theaters. It's not the same. I had no desire to go to that, you know, but if it was the real person on stage with just an acoustic guitar, I would have gone to that show because we all want to be entertained. It's our mental therapy, I think. I think entertainment is therapy for humans, you know, people want to be entertained. So I can't see live entertainment going away. You know, it may get temporarily halted every now and then like it did last year, but it will always come back, and it's come back full force. I mean, I feel like it's out the gate right now. I mean, because everyone wants to be entertained. I mean, Garth Brooks just at a stadium sold out. And that just shows you right there that people want to be entertained.
Right. It's more impactful, you know, in a live situation as opposed to a small screen. So yeah, I think so.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, you're feeling that energy. Energy is something you feel and you emote, and you don't feel that energy through a screen. You know, it's having that reaction of the artist and the audience and the yelling and the screaming and the clapping and shouting. It's an emotion you can't recreate on video, I don't think.
Mhm.
It's kind of like if you're going to be a parent and you read all the parenting books, and then when the baby shows up, you're like, this is nothing like what the parenting book was.
Quite a bit different, yes. So Susan, you mentioned that you bought a new console, and you're learning that new technology. Is there any other technology that you're using now that you maybe didn't even expect to be using before the pandemic, but you had time to learn? Yeah, you had the time to learn it, or you found that it became more necessary, or at least more interesting?
Not really. Those of you that know me know that my background was a whole hog, and then I moved into the Grand MA. And so moving into an AVO platform is definitely a big deal for me because it's like, you know, PC going to Mac or Mac going to PC. They do the same thing in the end. It's just a little different, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying learning a new platform. But as far as like any other tools I'm looking to utilize in my future shows, I don't work that level of events anymore, and I really don't have the desire to. I still like doing lights and doing the small shows that still have, you know, lights, you know, nothing against anything else. I'm old school, and I'm happy where I'm at, and I'm at an age now that I'm happy where I'm at. So as far as any new technology other than a new console, not really. Not really.
Brian, how about you?
For me, it was learning, I'm trying to think of the word, not lower grade, but a different platform. For example, like OBS kind of came into play doing streaming. vMix, you know, video, doing a computer-based touchscreen video switcher. You know, it was no longer the gigantic 3 ME switchers that, you know, I have on the road. So it was kind of learning the smaller things. And, you know, also I had to figure out how to just get signal flow through like 2 microphones one time, because it's like, well, we're not gonna bring an audio guy in just for a left and a right off of a computer. So I was like, oh, I'll figure it out. So, you know, stuff like that was, you know, things I was way back there in the archives. Luckily I was taking some audio classes about that time, so it helped out. But, you know, it was a different form of equipment that we were using to do a lot of these streaming events. So yeah, you know, it's back to you adapt to what's around you, and never stop learning. Susan, which I always admire, because she, I feel like she knows about every console. Seems like every year it's like, oh, I'm going to learn ETC this year, and I think I'm going to learn this year. So it's amazing how many consoles she's knowledgeable on. But
You
yeah,
know,
it's definitely handy.
Thank you for that, Brian. And it's interesting though, because I've learned a lot of consoles, but you don't use it, you lose it. And everything I learned last year when I was going to AVO school with my little mask on, I forgot it all. And I've had to start over this year because I didn't touch it. But this is the perfect opportunity right now. Like when I learned the ETC console, I was getting ready to get on a cruise ship that had ETC consoles. They had just switched over all the Norwegian Cruise Line ships to the ETC Geo. So I learned it and I went straight to the ship and used it and applied it. So that's what I'm doing now with the AVO is I'm learning it. I'm going straight on a tour to apply it. So, but yeah, you do forget it over time. I'm anxious to get on an MA again to see if I remember how to turn it on. Hopefully it's like riding a bicycle. I won't fall down. I can't fall down anymore.
Yeah, and I think this is an example of using a technology that we didn't really consider as much. So everybody's Zooming now, and this really kind of for us, it's great because we have the opportunity to join in a conversation with 2 or more people that we ordinarily wouldn't be able to. So I think for us, especially here at Full Sail in show production and live production, it's been to kind of make lemonade out of lemons. We've been able to reconnect in a lot of ways with you, Brian, and you, Susan, that we didn't have the time for before, or you didn't have the time for before because you're on the road, and now that we even have this technology, you could join us virtually from anywhere. If we just said, hey, do you have time for a quick Zoom or something like that? So in that regard, I think I'm thankful because we have the opportunity to do something like this, and we can do it more frequently given schedules and things like that.
I have to agree with you on that because I had this discussion with somebody the other day. I've gotten to know so many people this last year that I've never had an opportunity to talk with because we're all busy touring. Maybe we'll pass each other at LDI or at Full Sail and just, hey, and we all know each other and know of each other. But getting to actually do this and have conversations with people and see people's dogs and cats. Everyone's seen my dogs and cats now. And just have more of a personal connection with people. I've made so many new friendships because of this and because of Zoom, because we are all over the world. And when we were stuck in our homes, we were able to communicate with other people and actually have real conversations. And I have to say, I've enjoyed that aspect of this.
Okay. Hey, Susan Kay, do we have any, we're in the final moments here. So do we have any final questions that we can throw out?
We have one last question here, and it's what's the best place to keep an eye out for leads? And is your personal network where you get the majority of your work from?
So for me, where I get the majority of my work from is people I know within my circle, people I've toured with before, people I've worked with before. Touring is a little different, definitely, because it's not one you go and you fill out resumes for and you wait for us to sift through it and see if you're the one. Your resume is usually whatever the last show you just did or who you worked with. So it's imperative to get out there and to work and to do shows. Network with whoever's around you. Definitely students that are currently network with your instructors. Alumni talk to instructors often. Alumni says, we're looking for a kid that can do this, and it says, well, this guy's doing pretty well. So network with the instructors, let them know what you're doing. It is a tight network. Your teachers are, I know they're your teachers, I get it. It's like your parents, but they're a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of networking to gain from them. And I think you would be a little bit shocked if you knew how often, Sean McEwen and I talk and Mark and I talk, and, it happens. It's a lot. I know Brandon Blackwell is another one there's alumni speak with instructors a lot. We try to keep our ties to Full Sail. So, use that as an aspect and get out and back to what I said before, do all you can. I know there's things starting to develop more and more on campus. You know, Show Pro Club, huge place. There's always looking for spots to do stuff. Get out, do things away from campus as much as you can. Even though I still learn often from shows. I may learn from working from one company with another. So the more exposure, the more you get to know.
Susan, do you have any final comments to wrap
And
it
Mark did
Oh.
not pay me a dime to say that. Just want to say that.
up? But I am going to slide him some barbecue at some point.
That's right.
That mean I get chicken wings?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Of course, Susan, of course.
No, I agree. Networking is important. Majority of my clients are repeat clients or word of mouth. You know, even the gentleman that I'm taking over for on this next tour has been a longtime friend of mine. You know, he knew me already. And to this, you know, majority of my clients now are repeat clients or like word of mouth because, you know, somebody referred me. But networking, like Brian said, networking is such a key piece, you know, and just keep your eyes open even on social medias. Join some of the, you know, if you're on Facebook, join some of the entertainment groups that are on there, the touring groups that are on there, because you, like Brian said, you'll see people posting, especially now, hey, we're looking for, you know, production assistant, we're looking for a backline tech, we're looking for an LD, we're looking for somebody to fix something, you know, I mean, it's just keeping your eyes open. It's not going to come to you. You've got to go look for it sometimes.
Cool. So I looks like we're out of time. I certainly appreciate both of you coming to talk today, come to us via the small screen and talk with us. So I think the comments you made were invaluable, and I'm just thrilled to see you two both again as well. So I guess that's about it. I think there's some official Full Sail sign off. So I'll turn it back to you, Jason and Jamie.